Currently, the market on VEVE has been down over the last couple of weeks. Some people are terrified, some people are worried about their investment, others are sitting back and relaxing. So I'm going to share my thoughts with you today, some things to consider if you're wanting to come into this space, and some of the things if you've been in this space for a while. So let's get started. Welcome in everyone, my name is Andy, and I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come and watch this video on the channel. Just before we get going, if you are enjoying the content and you want to support me further, you can hit that subscribe button, and if you want to support me even further than that, you can join the membership. So we all are not new to market declines just in general. If you've been an investor for a while, you understand that market retractions are actually really healthy and something you generally need, as things just can't rise and rise. But the problem is, I've been seeing a lot of people whose first ever investment has actually been VEVE. And with NFTs being your first investment ever, again being the most speculative investment of them all, and seeing the prices rise and fall so quickly, this can terrify a lot of people. And personally, I would not want NFTs to be my first investment ever, because it would terrify you. Things going up and down so drastically would just kind of put me off. So I think it's important to start understanding a little bit more in terms of just fundamentals of investing, increases and falls, plannings, and just valuations in general. So we're going to talk a little bit about that further. One thing I think is always important for anything that you do in regards to investments, if we are looking at it from an investor's point of view and not just a sole collector's point of view, is zooming out. It is something we've looked at before, and I've talked about zooming out before, but in general, if you've been in this space for at least now 5 or 6 months now, you'll know that the prices that things are sitting at are nowhere near what they were sitting at those months ago. If we look at Superman, for example, back in November the 13th, round about that area, I was sitting at around 1,000 gems, and even now with a decline, and I say decline because still at 4,500 gems. Now, it's not to say that everything is like this, and just in the real world, not everything succeeds the way others do, but I want this to just be an understanding of investments in general. Things don't shift as quickly as you may hope they would. Businesses don't work the way your Squarespace or Etsy shop works either. You can't change them in a blink of an eye and everything's fine and you don't have to worry about anything. There's a lot of moving parts in businesses, and I understand that people are very frustrated with maybe the communication side of things and maybe some false promises that haven't been made. I too am pretty annoyed that we get these false promises. I would much rather companies under-promise, over-deliver, but again, it's a hard balance to make, and I'm sure that a company who's just starting out needs to learn that through hard times. So this is just the way we're at the moment. But in terms of zooming out with your investments, I think we could all zoom out a little bit further in anything that we do. In our life, we often just work on the day-to-day sort of stuff. We don't really plan ahead that much. Yes, there's some things we do planning further ahead, but when it comes to your investments, you need to do that a little bit more. Actually, a lot more. You need to plan and understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Are you here solely for collecting? Are you here solely for a gain in profit? You have to understand where that lies. For me, example, I've made some money on this app. It's fantastic, and I haven't actually put that much into it. I think I've put a maximum of £1,000 into this app as a whole. I've diversified in other places anyway before I even got onto VEVE. So this isn't the first time I've done something like this. I understand the risks that are involved and haven't over leveraged myself. But if you're someone who has over leveraged yourself, seeing these retractions in prices are going to send you an absolute frenzy and not actually know what to do. So when you zoom out of the market, just like any stock or crypto or NFT, you're more likely going to see that the ones that are winning or have won in the past saw retractions all the time. Things can't run up just every single day. It doesn't work like that. And the unfortunate thing is that when money is invested, emotions are at an all-time high, as money makes the world go round. It would be idiotic to say that is not the case. Money is what actually makes this world turn. The more money you have, the more leverage you often have to do things, get your attention somewhere that it's needed. It's not an inherently bad thing, but it's not inherently a good thing either. Meaning when retractions do happen in markets like this, especially the most speculative versions, people tend to get a lot more negative in that front, and it doesn't really create any positive outcome for it. I think as soon as you get into any sort of investment, especially like this, you have to understand exactly why you're doing it, what you're doing it for, where your ins and outs are, and how comfortable you are risking a certain amount of money. For me personally, if I'm coming into this space for the first time and I'm seeing the likes of the partner statue at 40k, I understand I am never going to be able to get that. That is just a fact. My investment strategy isn't to do that, and isn't to put in 40k that I don't even have in order to get something that is a very speculative investment. If you're coming in here, know exactly what you're doing, how speculative an investment of NFTs actually are right now, especially in the area that we are in, and know why you're doing this. It means you're not going to get burnt if things don't go the way that you expect them to go, and you've also researched enough to understand the risks involved in this. I've had a lot of comments on YouTube and Twitter talking about questions that could be answered with one Google search or one small bit of research done when it comes to VEVE, NFTs, just in general in companies. This should not be the case for any investment that you do. So when this is happening, and because the market is down, everyone's complaints are going to the market being down, VEVE not doing their job right, being in the euphoria stage, and now everything is going to go to zero. But at the end of the day, that sort of energy, just the same as the energy that says we're going to have £1 billion in the next week, is just not beneficial for anyone. Be realistic with your investments, understand why you're doing this. You're not going to get burnt if things don't go the way you expect. Let's talk about another thing that's probably on a lot of people's minds right now, and it's MTL. Now, MTL is a money transmitter license. It basically allows you to get your gems out for fiat. I've read quite a bit of research when it comes to this. Some say it's complicated, others say it's not as complicated as people think. So it's quite hard to get an actual understanding of exactly what it is, why it takes certain periods of time. But what I have found, what a lot of people's attention on right now is the MTL that's been released for Recur, the project that a lot of highly successful people are involved in. Now, Recur actually promised that MTL would be coming in February, and lo and behold, we have MTL on Recur in February for the US. Now, that does mean like people like myself can't actually cash out at the moment, but as a start anyway. We've been comparing a lot with VEVE and Recur when it comes to this, but I want you to understand there's vast differences when it comes to an MTL for something that is not on the Apple Store, as well as doesn't have the same amount of users or different licenses already put onto the app as the same as VEVE. So you're talking about every single country in the world that is possible for MTL accepting and actually allowing this to happen for VEVE, as well as all the other attributes when it comes to being on the Apple Store, being an app itself, and actually having a product ready. Recur only have a pass right now, and being released in the US and where they're actually based probably makes it easier for them to get acceptance of what they're doing. But I also understand that I need to do more research on that front. Might not be completely correct on those stances, but that is what I've found from the research that I've done so far. It does seem there are more complications when it comes to just worldwide in general. I think that would be a clear answer for most people to understand. But the thing that frustrates me the most is the promises that were made in the previous years that MTL was coming at certain times and hasn't actually done so. So I completely agree on the frustrations on that front, that promises shouldn't be made when deliveries can't actually be made either. Under promise, over deliver. It's the best ethos that any company can actually follow, because then they can reward their users who actually believe in the product that they're doing. VEVE have probably lost quite a few customers purely on the basis of their promises not actually being delivered on time, and it is a shame, but it's a way in which you can learn a lot quicker. You have to learn from your failures, and I really hope VEVE and Ecomi as a company themselves ensure that they don't overpromise anything anymore, and more so underpromise but overdeliver on their actual things that they're saying. This can also be the case as to why the market has maybe took a shift the way it has. People are seeing that it might not be the case that we're getting MTL sooner rather than later, and therefore they don't really know what's going on with their investment right now. They're making sure they might have some cash just in case something comes, or if everything burns. It might be for a variety of reasons, but there's no denying that the market is shifting right now. MTL and announcements on that anyway could play some form or part in this movement. There's something else I want to speak about when it comes to just projects in general or companies in general. We're first going to focus on NFT projects just as a whole. When any NFT project is released, more often or not, it has to have a few months, even closer to like the year status when it comes to things on OpenSea anyway at the moment, to prove themselves to actually deliver on what they're doing. People expecting things to be 20x and instantly all the time is just so unrealistic. It doesn't actually give a company room to grow. It just puts a cap on things because people expect what's not actually going to happen, and then the reality is it doesn't, and therefore they're disappointed because they expected something to happen. And it's a shame when it comes to investments with money, because when there's money to be made, there's people who solely focus on the money and nothing else. That means when everything's not going right, everything's going wrong, and therefore there's complaints everywhere. Social media blows up and people complaining all the time. YouTube blows up, people complaining all the time. People create videos that are not researched and more. There's quite a few varieties to it, and I think it's important to understand again when we bring the point back to, if you know why you're here and if you understand your plan and why you're doing things, you're not going to get phased by certain things that happen if you believe in a company. There's problems with every project. VEVE is one of them as well. There are problems with MTL, there's problems with the market, there's problems with some of the licensors, there's problems with things that go on in every single business. And we have to be open to this discussion and this skepticism when it comes to that. And the market does move in certain ways due to this. People talk about different things on social media, YouTubers talk about things, it creates more skepticism. People don't really understand the fundamentals of the business and they don't actually believe in the company, therefore they sell off. Buying pressure is not the same when things are down, therefore people are selling and there's more selling pressure. So there's a lot of varieties when it comes to this. I just want you to understand that this is the case for any business. No business ever goes up and up and up. There's companies that lose out hundreds of millions of dollars every single day, even in the stock market. You can even take Meta, for example, losing 200 billion in one day when it came to their stock just recently. No company ever succeeds every single day. There's faults, there's downfalls, and more. But it is those certain few companies that are building something that could change the future and what it is that will be able to survive the test of time. To me, with my research, I believe Ecomi and VEVE have a good shot at doing that. They've had a first mover's advantage when it comes to licenses in general, and yes, they have a lot to work on when it comes to development and just overall customer satisfaction. But having a first mover's advantage definitely does give you some form of leeway and upswing when it comes to this sort of stuff, and why I believe they've been able to grow at the rate they have so quickly. Bringing it back to the market in general, I remember a time where I bought Superman for 650 gems to an unorganic pump on the market. And I held that Superman for around 4 months where he went back down to 200 gems. Everyone was talking at the time how Superman would never reach 1,000 or never reach that 600 mark again because there's just not enough buying pressure. People are going to leave VEVE and Ecomi because it's just not worth it. There's no point of being here and we shouldn't be on this market. We saw Superman rise up to about 8k only last month. Yes, we're seeing a dip, but someone like myself who bought Superman at 600 held all the way down to 200 and even lower than that at some points because I was convicted in what I was doing, and seeing it rise to that price, it doesn't really faze me that markets move in this way. This is where you should be taking notes. If you believe in VEVE and Ecomi and what they're doing, you'll understand that this isn't the end. The market is just not going to stop and go to zero and everything's gone. Everything's stopped, that's it, game over. There's still room to grow with NFT technology, cryptocurrency, and more. There's a lot to do, a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of things that can happen. But if you believe in a company's long-term vision on what they're actually trying to build, then you'll know that the market is going to shift either way. Just like a stock in cryptocurrency, it's important to know that that is the case. So if right now you're taking notes on terms of buys that are happening, total listings that are going down, are people holding, what are people talking about, and why are people discussing the certain things they're discussing right now, but maybe weren't discussing that at the all-time highs that we have seen just last month? What's people's shift in narrative and mentality when it comes to this? Because this is going to be able to help you make better decisions for yourself and your own investment over the long run. It's going to help you become a better investor as a whole and actually not see yourself get burnt out when things don't go the right way because people listen to others who haven't done their research. I don't get everything right. I don't know if VEVE will become the most successful company in the world. Who knows? No one can actually guess how the future is going to move. I just want you to understand that it's very important to zoom out on investments when you're actually working within it each day, because you're only focusing on the day-to-day. And to also understand that research for yourself is so essential to actually come to a conclusion that works for you. VEVE isn't for everyone. Maybe selling all your NFTs right now makes the most sense because, again, as we've said, NFTs are the most speculative investment out of them all. Maybe it makes more sense to double down right now for yourself and see that this could potentially go further as you view that vision going in that direction. It comes down to you and your decision to make. Don't get dragged into other people's businesses, because at the end of the day, your investment is your own and for your own decisions and your own lifestyle that you want to produce from those investments. If you're here for the collectibles, great. I've become a physical collector because of VEVE. I've now collected my Todd McFarlane Batman and my Harley Quinn thanks to a birthday present, and I've got 2 more Todd McFarlane statues on the way. Also looking to get into comic books as well, thanks to VEVE. And just because I've been able to make some money, it has allowed me to change my life and perspective on physical collecting too. It's allowed me to enjoy something that I truly love, and I feel a lot of you are the same. The ones who are complaining constantly at the moment. VEVE has allowed you to join a community that care about different things, and for investments, collecting, comic books, physical statues, artists, and more. There's a lot to it. I've been able to change my life by creating this YouTube channel as well, talking about them. I'm not really sure how to title this video or what to make it, but I always think it's important to just spread a little bit of my own thoughts when it comes to this, hear different perspectives, and then we can move forward with this, knowing this is how the market's moving at the moment and this is how we're feeling at the moment. But I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. What's your thoughts on VEVE right now, and are you all right with the market movements that are happening? Be sure to let me know down below. Another video on the screen right now will be something you'll love to watch. Have a fantastic day.